Cincinnati by 1. Rose from half court. His shot is no good. John. The snap, the put down, the swing of the leg. It is on its way. It is good. Cincinnati wins the American Championship.
Here comes the quarterback, Burrow, looking for a block, and he got it up in the front by Hopkins into the end zone. Touchdown! What a skipper! Called his own number and streaks for 23 for a touchdown for Cincinnati.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Hey.
We're going to have some long, hard discussions after that intro.
No?
We're going to have some long, hard discussions.
Oh, man. I worked real hard on that.
I don't know, but I think Jeff needs to unmute his mic, or maybe you need to unmute.
Nope, that was me.
All right.
Yes. Not me this time.
Do better, Jeff. Do better.
Goodness. So, another week, another podcast. We are back. Welcome back to Pardon the Punctuation. You can check us out on Twitter at PTP Podcast Cincy, on Facebook at Pardon the Punctuation, on Facebook group. There is a group on the Facebook, Bearcat Nation. You can check that out. Apparently, that's still being run. I don't know. I haven't been on Facebook in like 3 months.
Yeah.
You're welcome. That just means that you're running free and I can't censor you anymore. Or edit your spelling.
It's 1.7 thousand members strong at this point.
Ooh, big thing.
Yeah.
We're getting up there.
ptpcincy.wordpress.com is our website. Apparently, we still do stuff on there. I'm not really sure. I never know. Outside of that, I think that covers our bases, and then something about beard jelly oil.
Ed's beard is looking fantastic. Once again,
Check out our sponsors, Boss Man Brand.
You can turn the scroll on the bottom here.
Oh, I could do that in just a second. Yeah. Go to our website to get the link, and then you can use Ed15 as the promo code, and you will, save some money.
Beard jelly oil.
Gotta get it. You gotta get strong. They got other stuff too, but it's called the beer jelly is what I roll with.
It's like Vaseline for your chin pubes. Excellent.
Yeah.
hey, Ed's beard is looking very nice.
Got a comb so I can brush it every once in a while, so we're good.
You don't have one of those real nice like horsehair brushes?
Yeah, you need a brush. I don't think a comb is where it's at, Ed. I mean, I don't have a beard clearly, but I think you should get a brush.
Maybe you'll.
I got a brush upstairs.
Looks like you got some flyaways going on, and you're getting a little gray on the side there, buddy.
Hey,
For sure, I'm getting gray. Yeah.
Let's be kind on the gray.
Well, I mean, it can be distinguishing.
I call it salt and red pepper.
Oh gosh.
Salt and red pepper.
That's what I call it.
So we are 12 days into the new year, and apparently the Bearcats football program may be on fire.
On fire.
On fire. So earlier this week, last week, was it over the weekend? What day is today? I don't know. I'm still
It's
lost.
Tuesday.
It was Friday.
Still lost in COVID. Over the weekend, we lost Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman decided to follow Brian Kelly, even though they're like 7 years removed from one another at the university, 8 years, something like that.
I think the link was probably more Mickens, huh?
Probably. But in any case, Marcus Freeman is the new defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. So DC that we've had, and in all fairness, this was quite a long time for a head coach and his offensive coordinator and his defensive coordinator to all remain in the same happy family. So then all of a sudden this afternoon, late afternoon, early evening, depends on where your qualifications are for afternoon and evening, I suppose. We start to catch wind that Luke Fickell's name is being tossed around in the hat for the potential Philadelphia Eagles head coaching job. now that that's been vacated, which comes, 2 years after a Super Bowl win for them?
Yes.
That's crazy. That is crazy. So Luke Fickell's name's being thrown out there. We have seen some screenshots of a plane that left Lunken Airport, although Jeff is very convinced that Luke Fickell would never ride on an ultimate shuttle, leaving Lunken this afternoon and heading to Philly. Why do you feel that way, Jeff?
No shot.
You think they're sending like an actual private jet for him?
I mean, it's an NFL team. I feel like if they wanted him,
I'd hope so.
if they were taking him, like if I'm Luke Fickell and you want me to come interview for your job and you're reaching out to me, then you're gonna send me a private jet to come pick me up and wine and dine me if you're serious about it.
Well, it's Jeffrey Loria. Let's not pretend that Jeffrey.
Otherwise, let's just do a Zoom call and call it good. And I'll go back to recruiting people and trying to bring recruits back in, and ones that are now undecided a little bit maybe, and try and seal this up because I've got a defensive coordinator that I need to go hire.
The owner of the Philadelphia Eagles is Jeffrey Loria. And if you don't know that name, Jeffrey Loria also once owned the Florida Marlins before he bought them up for just several $100,000 or $100 million, I'm sorry, and then sold them to Derek Jeter's partners for over $1 billion. So the dude has some cash. Don't get me caught in this, well, it's COVID. Maybe he was sending him first class on the ultimate. No, I'm with you, Jeff. He would 1,000% be on a private jet.
I think so, absolutely. And like I said, I mean, if he's like, no, you're gonna have to get your, like, we want to interview you, but you have to get your own. You got to get your own ride up here. Be like, that's great. Like I said, I've got a defensive coordinator I need to go hire.
I would think most of these teams probably own a private jet,
right?
Or at least the owners, like, or
and
have,
Philly to since he's not gonna burn up a lot of fuel, right? So
you think Mike Brown owns a private jet
for himself?
No, he rents a private jet because he only has to bring a head coach in every 8 to 10 years, so it's not a big deal.
Well, that's basically what Ultimate Air Shuttle is.
Okay, there's no shot.
Okay, all right.
You're stirring the pot. You're getting me frustrated.
We'll see what happens. I don't know. I don't like the fit, especially with what's going on out there with the money that they owe Carson Wentz, whether they keep him or whether they trade them.
So let me throw this out then. Let's say that he did.
You didn't let me even bring up the Jalen Hurts.
Well, before you bring that up, let's say that they called Luke and they're like, hey, Luke, we're interested. Because he acts as his own agent, right? Right? Still? That's still a thing?
I don't know.
Okay. So they call him up and they're like, hey, we want to interview you. We want to show you around the facilities. Test the waters a little bit. But you're going to have to bring yourself up here. And let's say Luke's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So he does it. And he goes up there and he gets wowed. And in 2-3 days, we find out that he's the new head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. Do the Bearcats call Marcus Freeman and tell him that he can come back and be the head coach?
So that was brought up on Twitter tonight, and I did see that. And somebody asked if it had ever happened before that somebody was hired by another team and then quickly came back to the team they initially left. And I believe that actually happened at or maybe went to another team very, very quickly. And I believe that actually happened with Manny Diaz before he became the head coach at Miami. I think he was hired by somebody, I want to say like Ole Miss or Mississippi State or somewhere around that area that he was actually hired by before he ran back and took the job at Miami real quick to take the head coach spot. So I don't believe that it's completely unprecedented.
That'd be a pretty cool story.
No, it wouldn't, because I don't want to lose Luke Fickell.
Well, I don't want to lose Luke Fickell either, but I still think it's a pretty cool story.
I mean, I would think I mean, I know we're talking in, ifs and what ifs and this, that, and the other, but if that's the case, if Luke did, and I've never even really heard if he has any aspirations of being in the NFL or not. I've never really thought of Luke Fickell going to the NFL, but I mean, money talks, and maybe that is kind of a back pocket dream. I don't know. But you've got to, if that happened, you would have to at least call Marcus Freeman.
1000%. I think it's the first phone call you make.
I mean, you have to be like, hey, you want this job because it's yours.
You already have
You
a
think
house
you would
here.
do it?
And I think, I mean, he'd probably be making comparable money as the head coach here that he's making as a defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, right?
I mean, if he was making money comparable to what Fickell was making, then he'd be making more than what he would be making as the coordinator spot. I wonder how much of that would include a buyout, though, at that point in time. Like, do you have to buy out his whole contract? I don't know.
What is like as a defensive coordinator?
Yeah.
I would be surprised. I would be surprised if there is a buyout on one of those spots like that.
I'd
be surprised
though if Brian Kelly tried to stick it back to UC the same way I feel like he always is.
I mean, side note, I also found out whenever he took that job that all those positions, and maybe it's the same way at a lot of big schools, but I guess Notre Dame like has sponsors for every or at least like the big coaching spots.
They name the coordinator spots. That was very strange.
Like I thought that when I saw it at first, I thought that he had been given an award that I hadn't heard about, and then I looked into it. I found out that they just let people pay to have their name on a coordinator spot. Like we could have the Ed Mayhall offensive coordinator at UC.
It'd be a pretty solid name, I think.
I don't agree.
I agree 100%.
But I mean, so anyway, but if I'm being 100% honest, I think that if Luke Fickell is going to go to the NFL, I would be more worried about him joining Urban Meyer's staff with the Jacksonville Jaguars if that ends up happening. Which
if he is to go to an actual NFL staff,
I would think that I would think he would probably go with Urban Meyer. You know what I mean?
I guess we'll find out. I mean, I'm still curious to see who the defensive coordinator spot is, but I don't know how you hire a defensive coordinator if you're out here taking interviews with NFL teams.
Which is also unconfirmed and not, it's just kind of speculation that is even something that's happened.
As we're talking about things that are no longer speculative, Mike Denbrock is expected to interview tomorrow with Vanderbilt, and I believe he is already there or on his way there for an interview tomorrow with Vanderbilt to replace, I'm not sure who, but as the offensive coordinator under their new head coach. So we could potentially be down a head coach, an offensive coordinator, and a defensive coordinator. And all of a sudden, this program is on fire.
That would be the case if that were to happen. I mean, I can't say that I would be.
Well, how about this? How pissed would it be if you were a player who said that I'm not going to the NFL draft?
Well, I mean, look at all the defensive guys that came out and said they weren't leaving, and then all of a sudden Freeman leaves. And like I said, I don't hold anything against Freeman. I mean,
but if you lose your head coach too, why would you stay?
Oh, I wouldn't.
I think we'd lose.
I'm leaving.
I think you'd lose Dez. I think you would lose basically anybody who said they were coming back. I think you'd lose at that point.
You lose, I think suddenly your recruiting classes get depleted, and because I don't know how you replace all three of those with
quality.
Well, I mean, you could still get quality, but I think you would be certainly behind the eight ball. You're going to lose. I think you lose even more of the 2022 class. We found out earlier today that Mumu Bin Wahad has reopened up his recruiting.
Let it not be lost the fact that this year, at least, I don't know about years going forward, but this year there is no you have to sit out for a year.
Yeah, no, you get a free pass.
You potentially could lose even more because people leaving the program to go be with a solid program.
Because you got to think a lot of these kids that UC has pulled in and recruited have been on the radar of Power 5 teams. When they chose UC over going to a Power 5 team.
I am very nervous for what the next, at least, I
Week?
would say, at least a week. Or if not, well, I think we'll know some things quicker than a week. I would imagine that the Eagles spot could remain open for quite a little. I mean, if you hire in a DC, you know that Fickle's not leaving, right? I would think.
Yeah, no. If they make a, and you would think that they need to make a pretty fast track move to get a defensive coordinator. Right? I mean, you can't leave that open.
Unless,
I mean, you've already found out what happens.
unless Fickle's going to Philly, in which case then you have to replace the whole staff.
Yeah. But I think if Fickle's staying, then I mean, if Fickle's staying, then they need to make a move pretty soon to bring in a defensive coordinator. And I can't imagine that they have a lack of folks interested in the spots. And who knows? Like, I can't imagine that you would have a lack of folks that weren't interested in the head coaching spot or the offensive coordinator spot. It would just be a matter of who you're going to be able to bring in, how quickly you can get them here, and try and plug the holes of the sinking ship before it gets to a point where we've got Tommy Tuberville back here.
He's a senator now, unless he gets fired here real quick, and not getting into all that. But
which is a real good possibility. But yeah. Bill. So Bill, if Fickle was to ever leave UC, then Kerry Combs would want to be the UC head coach. No, Kerry Combs, West Side Jesus, is never coming here.
I sure hope not.
Not again, at least.
I don't want him here ever.
I mean, his defense did a heck of a job last night.
Yikes.
And that's coming from somebody that was, I did mention that I thought they might try and go after him, but when you can't seem to cover the best player in the country, or you put a linebacker on him, and that's not fair to that kid.
No.
I mean, at least let a cornerback get embarrassed and have a shot at keeping up with him. You're not going to have a linebacker that's going to be able to cover that. Like, he didn't even break a sweat running down there trying. I mean, he had 12 catches, like 215 yards and 3 touchdowns in a half, set all kinds of records, and then,
then took a nap.
Got hurt, but that's all right. He said he'd be fine.
So, we talked about, just to reiterate, we are starting to see some recruiting fall off, which, you have to keep in mind that it's the first time Cincinnati has really been heavily involved in the national recruiting process. Kids changing their mind over a year out, or roughly a year out before signing day, happens all the time when you're talking national recruiting stage. So that's not necessarily like a huge thing. Not to mention the fact that depending on who the new hire is, you could potentially see some even bigger home runs hit. So also the way that Mumu phrased his reopening of recruitment, the kid's not even seen campus yet. Nobody has. The kids haven't been to campus yet because no one's allowed because of COVID. Couple that with the fact that you lost your DC, which kind of a big deal. And I don't know. I mean, kids just change their mind. They're 16, 17 years old. It's going to happen. Unfortunately, like that's a thing that happens. So I don't know. Plus, not to mention, you go back out and you start to pile up some wins again next year. If we're talking about Fickle being here and continuing the tradition of winning with this program, as he has done the entire time he's been here outside of the rebuild year, all of a sudden you got kids wanting to come here because maybe you're on a national stage. So I don't know. I'm not terribly concerned about what it's going to do for recruiting at this point in time, unless there's a reason to show more concern. But, to your point that you did bring up, Mumu is currently reopened his recruiting, but he has not said goodbye. He just said he wants to kind of check out the scenery again.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, like, and this is like no slight on him at all, but like, you don't want somebody to come here that doesn't want to be here, and if they don't want to be here, like, it's silly to like get upset over it. He's got to make up. He's got to make up his own mind and do what's best for him and his family and all that. So,
funny thing is the fact that he's talking about TCU is, I think, the biggest school that I've seen mentioned on his timeline.
Yeah.
Outside of Cincinnati, what are you going to get at TCU that you're not getting at Cincinnati?
Yeah. And obviously, like, we don't know, like, he might have some other links there, some other, like, drive or desire to go there for whatever reason.
The
and
Savage Seven is, if anybody who's familiar with the Savage Seven goes, they did originate the Savage Seven themselves. Originated a 7-on-7 team out of, I believe it was Houston, or it was certainly in the Texas area. So if you're talking about that, then maybe Texas is quote unquote home. I did see somebody talk about the fact that on Twitter, maybe he had been to a handful of high schools, or at least several high schools, which is crazy to me that people aren't in trouble for recruiting purposes more often than they are in high school football. Because I think when you're talking about kids who are proclaimed, top whatever nationally, then
I think he's like top 500, like, players overall.
I mean, you can't tell me that these kids don't transfer in hopes of hyping themselves on the national.
That's true. And I mean, who knows? I mean, his family could be a military family and they moved around. Like, there could be any number of other reasons, but
or maybe they just went to Houston for the summer to go play in this 7-on-7 league. I don't know how big deal the 7-on-7 league is.
Right? Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. If he ends up here, great. If not, wish him well. And unless he ends up playing against UC, and then only that game.
And we are going to have to, in early October, see Marcus Freeman in Notre Dame.
And I won't like him during those couple hours.
No shot.
Sorry, Marcus.
So, do you guys have anything else on football that we haven't covered already? Number 8 overall in the AP after the game last night. We do finish the season at number 8 in the AP. Highest ranking in the AP since we lost to Florida.
I think the CBS released like CFP power rankings, and I think UC was like 7 in that. And they moved Georgia up to like 3.
Are you talking about the postseason, or are you talking about the way too early preseason?
No, this was a.
I think that's the way too early preseason.
No, hold on a second.
8 is what they finish in the AP after the season's over. Like, that's their final ranking.
The CFP itself does not release anything after the final rankings for the thing, but this was like a CBS. Let me find it just so that I don't misquote it. I can't find it, of course.
Over in the comments over here, we have Justin saying that passing up Michigan State University and going to Philly seems like you have a shorter leash at Philly than you would have Michigan State, which I agree 100%.
You also have more pay, though, and the job at Michigan State would have been the day before or 2 days before National Signing Day, which it was a horrible situation to try and take over, given the timing and the fact that Michigan State was potentially looking at sanctions, which I still don't know if there's ever been a resolution to the sanctions that they were looking at facing under D'Antonio.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
No, so this is just the CBS Sports ranking, final rankings of the season. They actually they went Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, Indiana, Florida, Coastal Carolina.
Georgia, where was Georgia?
11, which is odd. It's it says updated January 12th, 2021, CBS Sports ranking alongside the other end of the season rankings. So I don't know how seriously you can take that with Georgia being outside the top 10.
That's weird. Yeah, that's weird. That's real weird.
Coaches poll lines up pretty much right with the AP poll.
Where we finish 8 at the poll.
Yeah. So coaches poll is Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, A&M, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Georgia, Cincinnati, Iowa State, Northwestern. And I believe that's the same as, yeah, it's the same as the AP poll. So, yeah, the CBS poll. I don't. Maybe they lined it up alongside these other end of the season polls, but they're saying like that's what it looks like going into next year.
Maybe they were still drunk from watching the national championship game and forgot about Georgia. Threw them in at 11. Who knows?
I mean, yeah, that's. I don't know.
I'm
It's crazy.
This chicken.
Doesn't make much sense, but anyway, that's what it says. It's on their website.
I have seen some way too early preseason rankings that have had us anywhere from what did the one guy have us at 20?
Somebody had us at 17.
17?
Joel, I think Joel Klatt had us at 17.
I've seen us as high as like 7 or 8 though, I believe.
Yeah, I've seen us us at in the top 10 several times in those way too early ones, and obviously they are way too early because who knows what could happen between now and the kickoff next year.
I mean,
so.
it's certainly gonna depend on the fact of whether you have your head coach, if you have one of 2 coordinators or no coordinators, and who those replacements might be.
And you also have to remember that Dan Enos left and is at Maryland now.
The running backs coach did leave. He is Maryland's new offensive coordinator. So we'll see how we end up replacing that opening. It's there's a lot of turnover, and we haven't really experienced a ton of turnover under Fickle since he's been here.
There hasn't really been. Well, there certainly hasn't been any at.
There's been assistant coaches, but there's never been.
But not coordinators and obviously not Fickle.
And that was one of the things that the writer for the Enquirer, Dan something, I can't remember his name. I don't know. One of the writers for the Enquirer pointed out that we haven't had a ton of. We're one of like 6 programs that have had a head coach and both coordinators together that long, actively. Anyway.
Oh, I did see that tweet this afternoon. Yeah, it was like, yeah, I think you're right, 6 or something like that.
And then I think it's this guy. I've seen some talk that's been referenced a lot about the head coach at Princeton, as maybe. I've seen a little bit on the Twitters of what's his name, like Mike Daniels or something.
He is currently a coach for the Bengals, I believe. He used to be the head coach at Princeton, if I'm not mistaken. Ed, anything?
I couldn't tell you. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I misread some of that, but wait,
Nothing? Still? No?
I mean, this looks like this says 2021 and it says he's still the head coach. He's still he's listed on their athletics website as the head coach.
All right. Or maybe I'm completely way off. I don't know. I thought I remembered seeing him on the Twitter sphere.
But I don't know. And I mean, you've got to think that replacing your running backs coach is probably pretty important, seeing as that room is still pretty solid.
Yeah. I don't know. Obviously that's going to be the least of your concerns, replacing a running back coach. If you have to replace
absolutely
first and foremost your defensive coordinator, as that's the only opening that we have at this point. But you could potentially be filling an offensive coordinator spot in addition to maybe a head coach. So we will see how this all unfolds.
Do you maybe go get Mike Mickens for your defensive coordinator?
That's one of the names been kicked around. I don't know that you want to bring in a guy who's never been a defensive coordinator if you're potentially looking at playing yourself into a national championship spot this next year. That's True. How I feel about it. That's what I talked about on my other podcast. You can check that out on www.bearcatjournal.com. It's the Bearcats Bounce podcast, where me and Brent Young discuss all things Bearcats there. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that was how I felt yesterday talking about it. So I still feel the same way about it. I think that you have to bring in a guy who's been there before.
So if you wave your magic wand and pick one guy, who do you take?
I think you take Chris Ash if you can pick him up from Tom Herman's
Is he still
staff.
is he still employed by Texas?
Currently, he is. Currently, he is still employed at Texas. So we'll see. Steve Sarkisian isn't going to get in there until I'd imagine today. He probably got the stuff out of his old office. Maybe got to Texas to talk to people, or at least had some type of Zoom call. So we'll see what Steve Sarkisian wants to do. Now
You think he left a forwarding address for his national championship ring, or?
I don't know. Couldn't tell you. I mean, he's not going to come back for the ceremony. That's for sure. But
Be special delivered.
We'll see what Texas does with Steve Sarkisian there. So I think if you can bring in a Chris Ash, I think that's probably the best name with some type of connection to Fickle that is out there. Outside of that, there's a list of people that you can find at places like Bearcat Journal, like The Athletic, that I don't necessarily want to get into, but that's just where we'll see how that all goes down. So, moving on. The Bearcats played a basketball game last week. Since we last talked,
they played two.
Oh, they did play SMU, did they? Didn't they?
Yeah.
I keep forgetting. Like the Saturday night podcast kind of threw me all off, and
it was Friday night.
Well, see, that's again still thrown off.
Oh.
All my days run together. This whole COVID lockdown mess, I miss going out and going to the bars. Then I could at least tell time.
Oh, because a clock on the wall there. I got you. Yeah.
Exactly. It's always
I got
you. Do you see a clock? Do you see a clock where he's at right now?
Always 15 minutes fast. It's fine.
I do not. I see Tide, but that's about it.
There's no Tide. That's on this
wall.
Sorry.
We don't use stuff.
It's on this wall. So yes, we played a basketball game, and we got our third win against Southern Methodist University.
It's some SMU. Huh? Some people just call it SMU.
That's fine.
Okay.
I didn't. What did you guys think watching that game?
That was small. Well, go small. That was the best I've seen him play all year. That's the first time I've seen.
That was Jeremiah Davenport's first start of the season in the small lineup, and it took the senior Chris Vogt out of the starting lineup. Tari Eason slid to the 5 spot. Actually, Davenport, I think, technically started in the 5, didn't he?
I couldn't tell you. I didn't see the start of the game.
I mean, they ended up running basically Eason and Davenport at the 2 forwards and ran 3 guards, essentially, as many teams do. What were your thoughts, though, watching SMU and the way that the Bearcats were able to, what feels like the first time this entire season, close out a game that they should win?
Well, it felt like the first time in the entire season that they've actually played together as a team and actually ran plays. And almost there was one point, and I talked about it on Twitter. There was one point where all season I haven't seen them really kind of zoned in. There was one point where Brandon was talking to him on the bench, and they were actually focused on him. They were actually listening to him, and it was just it was a good game all around. A couple times when I thought we were going to lose it, but it was nice to see Madsen get in there. Which brother is it? I always get him mixed up.
Mason
Madsen in there. He came in with a little fire underneath him.
Can we talk Can we talk about Mason for a minute?
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're going to talk about. All right, go ahead.
First off, does he look like the oldest dude on the team? Just out of curiosity, I think he looks like the oldest dude on the team.
He might be. I'm not 100% sure.
Even as a freshman, I feel like he looks like he's the oldest dude on the team.
I would agree with that. He does look a little old.
The all black shoes with the white socks does not help.
Hey,
I don't hate that look. I think it's a good look.
Of course you don't. That's how you mow your lawn.
I was gonna say maybe he's got to go mow his lawn after this.
I mow my lawn with jorts and sandals on sometimes.
That's because you're on a rider for a yard that's not big enough for a rider.
Riders for the win.
First of all, it's a half acre. Second of all, it has a cup holder so I can still drink my beer.
I bet if I had a powered push, I could beat you mowing your lawn than you on your rider.
No shot.
Nah, I don't think so at all.
100%.
No, I think it has like 10 horsepower.
My yard is about the same size as Ed's, maybe a little bigger, but I cut my mowing time down from like 45 minutes to an hour all the way down to about 12 minutes at full speed on my rider, and it is the greatest thing.
Full speed?
Oh,
Yes, I am.
Foot to the floor, beer in hand, zinging around, and then I got to go back out with my weed whacker to get the corners.
Unreal.
And fun fact, I bought that riding lawnmower so that my wife would cut the grass when I was in school. She did it once, so
I bought it. I bought mine so that my wife, she's always like, "Why don't you ever mow the lawn?" So I was like, "I'll buy a rider and I'll mow it every day." And she was like, "No, you won't." So I bought a rider. I mowed my lawn, and the next day I was like, "Hey, does it look like the grass grew at all? Because I could probably get back out there." She was like, "We have other things to do."
And sometimes you have to do that because sometimes the grass did grow within the hour after cutting the grass.
True.
Anyways, back to basketball.
Yeah.
No, it was a great game, dude. Like, was it tied at half?
Yeah.
We were down by a point, I think.
It was close.
We were. I
feel like
we were. Wait a minute, I'm reading the wrong thing here.
It was the first time that I knew that and we talked about it last week, it was the first time I knew that if it came down to a last minute shot, I knew there was at least 3 players on the court that could take that shot, and I would be okay with it.
Who were your 3 players, Ed? Pray do.
Davenport, Harvey, and Easton.
Against SMU, I think I don't even think I want to say almost. I believe Micah was 4 or 5 from 3, and I think he would have been able to take that shot as well. That might be the most comfortable that Micah's looked all year.
Micah looked pretty good too. Yeah, you're right. Exactly.
Certainly didn't look good against Wichita.
No, not so much at all.
No.
And didn't Harvey have a career high? Was it 19 or something like that?
That was against Wichita.
I was gonna say, if we're moving into the conversation against Wichita, yes, that's correct.
I thought he had a career high at SMU too. I thought he had 2 this week, but that's good.
Maybe at that point, but he's already passed that up with the 19 that he had against Wichita.
He had 13 against SMU. Yeah, no, I thought they looked very good. They took some runs and were able to turn it back around. They haven't been able to do that all year. I mean, they seemingly get down and then they get sloppy. I mean, it's still sloppy.
Well,
the amount
as you're comparing the 2 games between Wichita and SMU, I mean, against Wichita, we had 8 minutes where we didn't score a single field goal, not one.
That was in the second half, yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
They had just taken the lead, and then it was like, and then they just stopped playing basketball.
And then they shit the bed.
And Mike Adams Woods just watched a tomahawk jam in his face.
Well, we were all talking in our group text. The 3 of us. I think all of us were completely disappointed by that and actually befuddled, because if that happens under Mick Cronin, and I don't like to necessarily compare, it's still hard not to compare the programs of John and at least Mick. I'm not talking about going all the way back to Bob that some people want to do, but if we're talking about Mick, who was gone 2 seasons ago compared to John, under Mick, no shot that you're still on the court at any point the rest of the game if that happens.
No,
at least trying to contest it, at least trying to get in the way. That's not a bad foul if you stop a guy on that fast break, because you're ahead of him, so you're not going to get a flagrant for trying to impede the guy between the hoop and all that. So there's no reason for you to not try and step in front of him. Not to mention the fact that Wichita did that to us the almost damn near the entire game. These charge blocks that people are getting, whether it be sometimes I think they don't even regard the cup underneath the hoop, where if you're in there or not, I don't think they give a damn. It's just the fact that, well, it doesn't even matter if you're in the air already.
I mean, it gets that, and that argument is something that occurs on Twitter every basketball season from start to finish, that the charge block nonsense is just ridiculous.
Well, I remember back in the day where if your feet were shuffling at all, you would be the person called for the foul, not the guy with the ball.
Blocking.
And I feel like they're not
right. It was a blocking. It was a blocking foul all day long.
Yeah,
and 100%. Then
They're not.
And the announcers, so in the Wichita game, the announcers alluded to it several times,
Yeah.
Like that. But then they also alluded to the fact they were like, basketball can be a somewhat contact sport. Like your bodies are gonna touch. There's gonna be some bumping and some moving, but you don't have to whistle every little thing. And regardless of what happened, I mean, it throws the momentum off, and
that's what's been happening
too.
And it upsets the flow of the game. It turns it into this, like, pass the ball in, dribble up, oh wait, whistle, okay, pass the ball in on that, you know, get a shot off, maybe a rebound, this, that, and the other, and then all of a sudden, okay, well, we haven't blown our whistle
for the free throws.
I
think we can all say that.
And I know Aaron brought this up in our group chat, but I think at the beginning of the game, for like maybe the first like 3 quarters of the game, maybe it was like, I think there were like 10 or 11 fouls against UC and 1 or 2 the other way. And I get it. Some, like, UC plays very sloppy basketball, and there are they commit a lot of fouls, like they do, but you cannot tell me, and I know that this is basically regurgitating what Aaron said, but you can't tell me that if you're calling all those fouls that you're not going to call some the other way. And there were just no fouls coming back the other way. And
it's unfortunately, it's not the first time that Cincinnati has seen that this season, and I don't think it's going to be the last time that we see that.
It's not the first time Cincinnati's run into that issue since they've been in the AAC.
Exactly, and that's one thing that makes basketball hard to watch anymore. That's one reason why I don't watch a lot of NBA anymore. And I had this argument with somebody on Facebook. They kept saying that this UC team is not tough. UC teams are supposed to be tough. You know, they're still hoping that Huggins is going to come back. Huggins never would have let that happen. We had guys that were big and tough. This isn't the same NCAA. This isn't the same NBA that we had with Kenyon Martin. With
look at the length of the shorts.
I don't think Kenyon Martin makes it past like a quarter of the way through the game if they're calling fouls the way they call them now.
One of the things I brought up to you guys, though, in the group text that I want to bring up again here in the public format is the fact that we just need to make sure, as you can literally see the frustration mounting in these players, to make sure that the players aren't getting hit with another foul in the form of a technical for basically telling the refs to do their damn job. And we need to make sure that someone on the staff, whether it be John Brannon or whether it be another member of the staff who he's okay using as a scapegoat, to yell at a referee to do their damn job. But there's no way that you are 7.5 minutes into a game, Cincinnati's got 8 fouls and the other team has none. That doesn't make sense.
I think we found out last year straight from Mrs. Brandon that he only has 3 technicals in his career, something like that. So if he wants to hire me, I am 100% open to be the guy that gets the technicals for him.
Just make sure that you're at least like standing up for your players, because the players shouldn't have to do that on their own. And
maybe he's just not as demonstrative about it. You know, I mean, obviously we knew, like, when Mick was upset. Hell, when Mick was happy
in the hospital.
When Mick was happy, he was you could even think that he was about to catch a technical. But so we really don't know, like, as much as what, like, Brandon is saying to the refs on the side. You know what I mean? Like, as they come up and down the floor, he may be making comments to them about it. We just, you know, we don't know that, and I don't know that he's.
I don't care if we get a technical or not. That's not what I'm advocating here.
Right, I know it's not what you're advocating, but what I'm saying is, like, even though it doesn't, maybe it doesn't appear in the same way as we're used to seeing a coach, quote unquote, stand up for their players. I don't think that he's somebody that's just standing over there getting run over. I honestly just think that the refs are calling a ton of ticky-tack fouls, and I think that the other thing is, I mean, our players are playing very sloppy basketball. A good majority of the fouls are deserved fouls, and they're stupid fouls.
It's just the fact that the same thing isn't called the other way all too often. So
that's so frustrating.
I've said this, and I want to make sure that I say it again, is the fact that Cincinnati has been called on a ton of fouls already, deservedly so. They do make dumb foul mistakes. Let that be known. but it's the fact that the disparity between the fouls on Cincinnati compared to, again, you're what, 7.5 minutes, I believe it was, and you have 8 fouls on one team and no fouls on another. The same thing happened earlier this season against what was it, Tennessee?
Yes.
Yeah, there were a lot of fouls there. Yeah.
So again, we know this team fouls a lot, and it's I don't know. I think the bigger reason is because they're young, they're inexperienced in this league. We get it, but I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me that you have 8-0, and then by the end of the game, you're. I feel like you're almost looking on a regular basis at somewhere around 25 to 12.
Hey, and my gal, my best friend, my home, like my person, like we're cool. Tari Easton's mom, she pointed out the same thing. She said the fouls were just not called the same way, and I back my best friend up on that.
Huh.
Did she like a tweet that you made, Ed?
Not recently.
Okay. Fair enough. We'll leave it there.
We'll leave it there, all the way there. Moving on.
Which makes us.
I just want to say one last thing about UC basketball, and I get it. This year what's that?
Before you get into your final point, I did want to mention the fact that the game tomorrow against ECU was canceled because of COVID, so there is that, and also there hasn't been any mention yet on their game on Saturday. I believe we play. Is it Temple?
Tulane. Wait a minute.
I know we play Saturday, but
Tulane.
They did
East Carolina,
say,
Tulane, Temple are the next 3.
They did say that the COVID precautions are because of Cincinnati, which is why ECU was canceled. I don't know if they're rescheduling or not. I have no idea if the NCAA is going to be rescheduling games. I know the NBA is not, so I don't know.
I think I think they would have to reschedule. I mean, that's a.
Who knows?
Maybe they wait till the end of the year and reschedule it if it has effect on standings or something.
College compared to NBA, there's plenty of time in between games to reschedule another game. But again, it's going to continue to depend on COVID tests and all of that.
I just wish that we could play East Carolina, because we would have East Carolina, Tulane, Temple, potentially 3 wins in a row.
I don't know. ECU has won some games.
And I agree. And by no means can we say anything about a game being a shoe-in win for this Bearcats team right now. But then January 23rd, you're staring down the barrel of the Houston Cougars.
Staring down I'm not going to sing it. But also, according to a tweet that I read today, I don't think, and I don't have 100% on this, but I don't think it's any players that have the COVID. I think they actually canceled this game because somebody... It's a good friend of mine. Real good friend. It sounds like maybe somebody on the staff had COVID and they're doing contact tracing, and that's why they canceled tomorrow's game.
Huh. I wish I knew whose tweet that was.
It's just a really good friend of mine, okay?
Thanks, Ed.
Matter of fact, if that good friend of mine would like me to send some cheese conies to their house, I will absolutely do that for them.
In Washington?
I'm not going there anytime in the next couple weeks. So if we can FedEx them, I'll be great.
I don't mean DC. I mean the state of.
Forgot there's 2 of them. Yep.
I love you, Ed.
Love you guys too.
But what I wanted to end on for UC was I realized that this season is probably a lost cause.
Yeah.
As far as
learn.
There's no. I don't think there are any national championship aspirations coming out of this squad.
I think we'll be
right
lucky
now
to make the NIT at this point.
Right. I don't even know if there's going to be an NIT this year.
I don't think if there was that we'd even get an invite, to be completely honest with you.
I mean, we would have to really turn this thing around, and maybe they can. I just want to see some progress in the areas of playing a little sloppy basketball. I will say at the end of the Wichita State game, I saw a little bit of fire out of Chris Vogt when they put him back in the game. There was a couple rebounds he made where he, I guess realized that he's 7'1" and can legitimately move people out of the way.
Ed, you played in some basketball games, Ed, right?
I played in a lot of basketball games, yes, sir.
So 24 points for the Bearcats were scored in the last 3 minutes of the game. That's crazy, right? I mean, again, I brought up to you guys in our group text, like, I think that Wichita State had mailed it in. I think they thought the game was over. But for a team that has not made a whole lot of field goals on a regular clip to go on a 24.3 minutes, some teams don't score 24 points in a half. Like
That's true.
That's not been uncommon in college hoops.
Michigan tonight thumped Wisconsin. I think last time I saw it, they were up 60-24 in like the second half. So that makes sense.
Is 24 points in 3 minutes. That's outlandish for this team that has struggled to make field goals.
It's
a lot. Yeah.
Let's just see some improvement, some steps forward. And that's, I know there's a lot of people out there that are ready to,
fire
Brandon. They're ready to take Brandon and send him packing. I don't know that, and I know we've talked. I know that we've talked about it before. I don't think we as a podcast are necessarily there yet.
Oh no! As I bring it up, I want to make sure that people know I'm not saying that he should be fired or taken out to any woodshed.
No,
right, no, I think you gotta give him time. I mean, essentially, he gave up last year of going into his methodology of the way that he wants to do things to cater to players that were still here, and it turned out, they won a conference championship, so that worked out. But you got to give him time. You got to give him time to get his guys in, get his system put in, see where it goes. If it's unsuccessful after a few years, then maybe you revisit it and look for somebody else. But we're not really used to that here in Cincinnati. Is like replacing a college basketball coach every 2 or 3 years. You got to give them some time. So
yeah, it's traditionally not been a stepping stone school for basketball.
No.
Speaking of that player, just 2 more things from former players. That player, Jaron Cumberland, got drafted in the NBA G League to the Houston G League team. I think it was in the first round.
Yep, first round pick.
And then, unfortunately, our boy Jacob Evans did not get drafted in the G League.
I don't believe Trey is with any team right now either.
Was he on a 10-day? We never figured that out. I think you're right, though.
I think that's... Yeah, I don't know that he's with any.
I think you're right. I think we looked it up last week. I think it was a 10-day contract. 10-game, sorry. What happened?
One of my buddies just sent me a text. I think this is so fitting. We'll segue with this.
Okay.
Nick Saban has reached the stage in NCAA 14 dynasty mode where you're so dominant that it's not fun anymore, so you start over with Wyoming.
I read that earlier today, yes.
Saw that.
It's pretty fantastic. That comes at you from Mike Renner at PFF_Mike.
I also heard something about Mike DeWine finding a couple extra points for Ohio State last night after the game. So
moving on.
All right.
Let's talk about the Bengals, because I think that's
about them Bengals
a little more apropos right now. Have we seen anybody actually fired at this point? Did the firings come to fruition?
I don't think that anybody's actually been fired yet. I think there's talk about people going to be leaving. There's talk about bringing people in, but I don't think a single person has been fired yet.
Did Jim Turner officially get fired, or did we just bring in his replacement? I never actually saw anything that said Jim Turner was fired.
I don't remember.
I think this is a fair question.
I'm looking it up right now, but I do not remember seeing any tweets or anything like that talking about that.
Well, what we do know is Frank Pollock is the new offensive line coach. We know that much. I also saw that there is a defensive line coach coming in for an interview. His first name is Andre. I believe he was the Jets defensive line coach. If that helps.
Nope. The only thing I see is reports that Jim Turner will not be back. Nothing saying he's been actually fired yet.
Was his contract up?
No.
I mean, you even have David Lapham out there. Yeah. So I don't.
Did you call him David?
It said David.
Formal name? David Lapham.
Oh, why did I say David? It says Dave in the article.
You totally
Again,
said
just
David,
brand.
David Lapham.
Hey,
Dave.
if calling him David gets him on the show, then it's David.
Only his mother calls him David Edward.
Good point. That's a good point.
Yeah,
I mean,
this article just says that he's not expected to return, that he's out and in the mix for some potential spots in such as University of Tennessee's offensive line job for Jim
Nobody
Turner.
knows if Jim Turner is still officially collecting paychecks from the Cincinnati Bengals.
Whatever. They're excited to move on. They're excited to move on to the next guy. I know Burrow said that he was excited about it. So
we bring back Joe. Or I'm sorry, not Joe. We'll get to that. But we bring back Frank Pollock, who was here 3 years ago. He was not here when Zach Taylor was here, was he?
No, sir.
Yeah. So Frank was here though when Joe Mixon led the league in rushing yards.
Joe Mixon was very hyped on the Twitters, at least through Joe Burrow.
Which is why Joe Burrow was so hyped, is the fact that Mixon called Joe Burrow to tell him, "Yo, I'm hyped." I'm sure that's exactly how the conversation went.
I think that's if you were wiretapping that's exactly how it went.
So also,
which we would never do here.
Can we talk about the fact that Joe Burrow and his little chicken legs are walking through the parking lot right now without crutches? I don't believe I even saw a brace. Just walking in some shorts.
He said he can start throwing again next, and when I assume that he can obviously throw a football right now, but
his arm's
he
not
can't.
Broken.
He can't put anything behind it. So he said he could start throwing again.
Can't step into it.
Right.
Anyway.
He's not Jason Street.
Dude. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh god.
Sorry. That was wrong. Did you see there was a lot of people analyzing that slow-mo video of Joe Burrow walking through the parking lot saying that he was limping?
I mean,
he just had surgery.
His knee is
his knee.
It was a 5-second video. We got people analyzing it.
Well, of course.
If you speed it up to the speed that the moon.
Could they tell what kind of tennis shoes he had on?
No. If you speed it up to the speed that the moon landing should be on, then of course it looks like the whole thing was filmed in a Hollywood studio, the same way that the moon landing was. Listen, I'm just here speaking facts.
What? You on conspiracy theory?
He said he's going to start throwing again in February and should be able to start running again in March.
He probably is limping though. I mean, real talk, that takes 9 to 12 months. For an average person.
I can tell you this: when my brother was in high school and had what I would assume would be a pretty similar surgery, he had his ACL, MCL. He was in one of them big casts with the water that gets pumped through it and everything for couple 2 months or whatever, month and a half, and then
I'm shocked that he wasn't in an actual cast.
But I will say, my brother injured his in it was maybe January of whatever year that was, and then he made it back.
Thanks for giving us an idea. That really made sense.
In July.
We know how old your brother is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is he was a high school athlete who was in pretty good shape, but not professional athlete shape, and he made it back from a January injury of similar proportions back to July. And
technologically speaking, we're talking about roughly 10, 15 years ago, yes?
We're talking about 2003, 2002.
That's the point I was getting at. Technologically, we've probably made some advances.
Maybe. Yeah, probably. I would assume so.
Yeah! Huh, that came out of nowhere.
I had to break up the tension. I'm sorry. Can we also talk about the outfit that Joe Burrow was wearing today during the Zoom call?
I just want everyone else to wear shorts that come to their knees. Everyone should wear shorts that at least get.
You don't like the Giroux shorts?
I'm so mad that LeBron James made it a thing for people to wear shorts that came up to your mid-thigh to 3/4 thigh. I miss the Allen Iverson. I miss the Allen Iverson shorts that come past my knee.
Hey, my kid's second grade instructional league basketball team wears shorts that go down to their knees.
That's because That's size small.
And they're semi Jordan-esque looking uniforms with the blocks down the side. I love it.
Just hood rat kids doing hood rat things.
But the outfit that Joe Burrow was wearing today, he looked like a middle school, high school rapper, like a middle school rapper, like internet rapper. Nobody caught that today, huh?
Did he look like Froggy Fresh? You probably don't know who that is, do you?
Krispy Kreme, Froggy Fresh.
Jimmy
All right.
Butler is
All right.
He is on TikTok, by the way, and he is hilarious.
I love him.
I gotta find one of his TikToks.
Don't find his TikTok.
Well, he's got several names too for his different rap.
Well, because he got sued by Krispy Kreme.
For his different rap personas.
He also plays piano.
He plays real good piano.
Anyway,
We gotta get some of that music.
Your brother is blowing up all of our chat.
He just wants to talk about Michigan.
100%. I feel like you should probably listen to a Michigan podcast.
Yeah, those are out there too.
I don't know. They're probably all on fire. The fact that they just re-signed their head football coach. That's been extremely successful up there. Like, we could be in that situation. Like, think about this. Just a few years ago, if UC would have been like, hey, Tommy Tuberville, here's like 5 more years.
Yikes.
Senator. That's Senator Tuberville to you.
So
I don't refer to anyone as their political name.
Talking about the Cincinnati Reds, because there is not a whole lot there, but there is still some things that
Trade
we should
rumors.
address.
I think their whole team's available, per John Heyman.
John Heyman, everyone on this entire roster is available. There is no one who will not be discussed.
Including the field guy who took the face plant on the I can't pronounce his last name anymore.
It's at John Heyman on Twitter.
Let's talk about that. Why wouldn't you want to know what your players are worth in conversations?
I would like to know.
If someone calls you up and wants to talk about Luis Castillo right now, arguably the best pitcher on this team, why wouldn't you listen to it? I'd listen to it. I don't know if you've ever played MLB The Show. I offer everybody. I put anybody up there to see what generated trades I can get. Why? To see if I can improve the team. For fun. Thank God the player never finds out about it, and then I lose
confidence.
Right. I mean, whatever you'd measure that in a computer simulation, but at the end of the day, why wouldn't you want to know what your players are worth? I don't think there's anything wrong with having an open market. That all said, I don't feel like anybody in this entire division actually wants to win.
It doesn't seem like it.
No one.
I mean, our boy Kyle Schwarber just got traded.
No, he didn't. He was a free agent.
He was a free agent. He signed with the Nationals. Yeah.
And he's actually not our boy. He's Middletown.
Tom's boy.
He is Tom's boy.
Hey, I thought about speaking of Tom Brenneman, I believe his son goes to Marymount High School. They played Elder tonight in basketball, and they have students that do the play-by-play, and his son is a play-by-play guy for Marymount's basketball team.
Solid.
Pretty good, actually. Pretty good.
But did he talk about how the Reds went up 4-0?
No, hush.
No, don't talk about that.
He's a child.
Goodness.
I'm looking
It would have been
for.
funny though if he could at least poke fun at his own dad
That's true.
for going out in the most epic.
I'm also really interested to see what this Jared Doak's tweet is about from 10 hours ago. He just said, "Stay tuned."
Yeah, because we need to find out where he goes in the draft. So again, the Reds they're entertaining these talks. There's talks about anybody from Sonny Gray to who had quite an off season with his Twitter likes. Luis Castillo, Eugenio Suarez. We did see Cleveland move Francisco Lindor, so finally that rumor can be put to bed. The Reds are not going to be making the move for Francisco Lindor, as New York Mets did.
Sad.
Do you think the Reds are going to make a move for a shortstop
I mean,
at all?
That's legitimately like the last thing that we heard was, hey, we didn't bring back Archie Bradley and we got rid of
signed anyway?
and we got rid of a little bit of this money here and there so that we can go out and aggressively look at a shortstop. I haven't seen it. All I've seen is John Heyman say everybody else is available for trade, and I've seen nothing about like
and
a
minor league catcher and a minor league.
Yeah, pitcher. we did get a minor league catcher, but I mean, you got to think that you're going to start the year with Barnhart and Stevenson. Yeah. I guess you probably do need to like fill in a little bit of as a just in case.
Well, and I don't know that it's not Stevenson's job to lose a catcher, to be completely honest with you. But at this point, are we supposed to resign ourselves to the fact that Garcia is our starting shortstop? Jose Garcia?
Senzel could play there.
Are you going to move him in from the outfield? What are you going to do? Go get Andrew Benintendi, who's also apparently available on the market, but is like a equivalent to Jesse Winker?
And Elise is looking at him right now, but
Madera.
Who's your starting shortstop? It's got to be Jose Garcia, unless it's.
I mean, that's all you've got right now.
Unless it's Farmer. Kyle Farmer.
Okay, he didn't look. He impressed me there, and
shortstop.
Huh?
A shortstop.
Yeah.
He impressed you.
Yeah. He was good.
Maybe I've been a little spoiled by like, I don't know, Zach Cozart, or what was the kid's name?
Donkey?
Was his name? No, he had a nickname as the starting shortstop.
A lot of them have nicknames.
I can't remember his name.
Kyle Farmer, which I didn't know until this year whenever they moved him over there to play shortstop.
I didn't know he could play shortstop.
Is still the all-time leading defensive shortstop from the University of Georgia.
What's that?
He had a career 968 fielding percentage at shortstop for the Georgia Bulldogs.
I don't know what to do with that information.
I'm just saying he's got experience there clearly. I don't think you hang your hat on
Reese, that was his name.
Oh,
Pokey Reese. Yeah, I remember that guy.
But I don't think you hang your hat on Kyle Farmer as your starting shortstop. I just don't. I think you've got to go out. You have to.
Probably your guy over.
I mean, here's the deal right now. The NL Central is up for grabs. Go make a splash. Spend some money. The White Sox just dumped a huge amount of money.
Let's talk about the White Sox because apparently they're still in the Trevor Bauer running.
Well, they're spending money
with 4 Cy Young qualifiers just last year. The White Sox are about to be dope.
So maybe he ends up there. I have to get a New Jersey.
I don't want to think about that.
I mean, I'll wear my Reds one. I'm just saying I'll have to get another one.
I still like to think that he might end up back here, but
that
I thought about wearing my Reagan's jersey tonight. Didn't do it.
That'd be awesome. And you know what? His agent is pretty cool too. I like to follow her on Twitter. She tells it like it is, and I'm all about that. But I also
John Heyman doesn't like her either.
What'd you say?
John Heyman doesn't like her.
Yeah, well, John Heyman.
He doesn't like Trevor Bauer either. Because Trevor Bauer calls him out all the time.
He gets his shorts in a wad.
Up in his feels.
But he does get all up in his feels. I do want to talk about something that I meant to bring up last time, but we just kind of glossed over the Reds because, again, there's like nothing happening. But at Nicholas P. Kirby has been doing a series on his Twitter for the 100 days leading up to opening day, at least the scheduled opening day, where
thanks for joining us.
Where he is he's tweeting out a clip from the top 100 Reds games since 1995. He said that he has something like 500 full length Reds games on on a hard drive. He's been going through them. He's been tweeting out these like clips of videos. The one today was August 13th, 2009. Johnny Gomes hit 3 home runs. Bronson Arroyo threw a 2-hit shutout. As I watched it, Adam Dunn was playing for the Washington Nationals in that game, and Bronson Arroyo
Big
registered.
Donkey.
Yeah, another nickname. But Arroyo registered a 100-mile-an-hour fastball
Did he mean to?
to Adam Dunn, who turned it around into center field for a single.
Was that the only time he ever hit triple digits his entire career? Because
So I tweeted that at Clay, and I said I wasn't aware that Bronson had 100 miles an hour in his back pocket at any point in his career.
neither
I
was
wasn't
Bronson.
sure he could. I wasn't sure he could even hit 90 miles an hour at any point.
He was like a 92
Right.
in his.
But you get the point that I'm making. So what I don't know what that is. Clay thought for sure that it was maybe two. Ed's gonna get us DMCA'd. Clay thought maybe it was the previous 2 pitches he had thrown added together on one radar gun score.
Well,
My theory was that the pitch was just not fast enough to register on the gun, but it was in fact the first recorded exit velocity rating in the MLB.
was Aroldis on the team at that point or not?
No, we're talking.
Only reason I bring that up is
We're talking 2009.
Teams would mess with the radar gun when Aroldis was out there because he would get frustrated as hell when he couldn't hit triple digits. So I don't know if maybe this is like.
I mean, it was that Great American Ballpark.
Then I got nothing.
I don't know.
I mean, all of his other pitches, like if you watch like the highlight that Nick put up, it is like normal. You know, he's got his like 87, 88. I mean, he's like peppering it in there, and then all of a sudden it was like 100, and I was like, what the heck? So I think
actually.
I think probably what happened was the radar gun didn't pick up his pitch. It picked up the line drive that Adam Dunn smoked into center field at 100 miles an hour.
Which player was not with the Reds at that point in time? Did you already say that? Did you already say which player was it? Adam Dunn when he was with the Chicago White Sox, or was it?
No, he was with the Nationals.
He was with the Red Sox.
Adam Dunn was with the Nationals at that point.
Big Donkey, gotta love it.
Still another nickname.
It's fine. Same nickname.
Was it not Adam Dunn? Was it not Adam Dunn that called into the banana phone?
It was, and wanted to take his shirt off. That was when we used to have a not country intro.
I have it somewhere.
We're not going to play it again.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so I'm not going to play that.
But yeah, so that's been my extent of excitement about Reds, is waiting for Nicholas P. Kirby at Nicholas P. Kirby to tweet out his top 100 Reds clip of the day.
All right. Well, we got a lot to get through in a little bit amount of time, so let's round third, Ed. Let's go. Do we not have a thing?
We don't have a song for rounding third yet.
Bless.
It's been about 3 years.
Moving on.
One day I'll get there.
This is the part where we ask each other questions. That all said, I'll start just for fun. It was announced, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, there is going to be a female protagonist for the first time ever on Grand Theft Auto 6. How do you guys feel about that?
I'm okay.
I think it's well past due.
I legitimately don't care. I mean, it's like when I play a video game, if the video game's fun, like I'm all about it. If the video game sucks, I mean, one of my favorite video games of like the last little bit here that I've been replaying again is Horizon Zero Dawn, and that is a female protagonist, and she shoots arrows at robotic dinosaurs, and it's amazing.
I don't understand why it took them 6 games.
I mean, there's a lot of games that don't have, that have come to the forefront that don't have female protagonists in them. That like, I mean, for one, Escape from Tarkov, but that's a computer game, so it's like
How many games though have 6 chapters where they have not had it, or 5 anyway, that have never had a female protagonist?
I don't know.
Superman.
I hate you.
I mean, it's true, but no, I'm okay with it because I'm gonna roll around and I'm gonna like some pink rims and stuff like that, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good time. I think it's gonna be a good time. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask my question.
So your kid gets that game and your wife takes it away from you.
I have to hide it. But going on that same question, because this was my question. What are the top 3 gaming devices of all time?
All time?
All time. And I bring this up because I've been hearing a lot about the Oculus Rift, and I kind of want to get one.
Oculus Quest, you mean?
Is that what it is, the Quest?
The one that requires nothing? I have one. I have the first one. And I just got Top Golf on it, and it has a full range, and I just hammer bombs, Phil Mickelson style, straight out into the Top Golf. I mean, it's like, have you ever been to Top Golf for real?
I'm so jealous because I have 2K, the new Golf 2K.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to take a stick as you're holding a controller to bring a stick back straight with a finger, and
then push it forward.
And then push it forward straight.
Just play a draw.
Because it always goes with an ocular, like the way that your finger moves, like it's ocular. Like it doesn't, it's not easy to just bring it straight back and straight forward because it moves on a swivel. Your thumb moves on a swivel.
I agree. That's why I always play a draw or a fade in video game golf. But
because of usable thumbs.
I would go with the Game Boy. And these are just my my preferences. The Game Boy I grew up with, I had one that in all iterations of the Game Boy, all the way, up into including the 3DS. I like mobile. I like being able to play it wherever. When I was little, playing it on long car rides was awesome.
Only through the 3DS, not through the Switch.
I don't consider the Switch a Game Boy. It's a Switch. Really, I have a Switch and I love it.
It's an evolution of this.
It's a Game Gear.
No, it's not. You hush your mouth.
Okay, sorry.
It's an evolution of the Game Boy. Anything.
I will say I have legitimately never put my Switch in its dock. I've played it handheld the entirety that I've owned it until probably this weekend because I just bought a new set of Joy-Cons so that my kids we can play. They have a Switch Lite, which doesn't. I mean, the Switch Lite is legitimately like an evolution of the Game Boy because it doesn't have, like, you can't mount it to the TV.
Just because it's a bigger screen. I'm just saying. It's an evolution.
No, I agree with. I see where you're coming from, and I agree. But we're gonna play some Mario Party and probably some Mario Kart stuff. But my kids play on their Switch Lites and they play Pokemon a lot, which is awesome because I played Pokemon growing up, and we've gotten into Pokemon cards around here. So, but yes, so Game Boy, Nintendo 64, and then
solid,
and then PlayStation 5.
Ooh,
did I get one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dang.
Son of a bitch.
I beat the bots. I beat the bots on GameStop, and I got one, and it's sitting right here, and it's amazing. And my PlayStation 4, I moved up into my bedroom, and my wife was like, excuse you? And I was like, I mean, what if I want to play games when I'm up here? And she was like, can I watch Dawson's Creek on it? And I said, yeah. I'll put Netflix on it. You can watch Dawson's Creek.
What you said was, I don't want to wait.
Wants to be over. There will be no singing that will come from me. That's not gonna happen.
So I will concur. Game Boy would have been number 1 on my list, actually. And I think I'm gonna go with Sega Genesis.
Okay. I never had one growing up, so.
Just because with 32-bit, I feel like they really kind of set the next bar after Nintendo and all that. And it's really hard not to give it to Nintendo because I think that's where everybody pretty much got their start. If you didn't have an Atari, anybody who was from the 90s anyway, and there was no evolution prior to that. But if we're going in order of the way that I would rank it, because that 3 was definitely not in my order. It would have been probably Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and then Game Boy.
I'm going Nintendo 64, Nintendo, and PlayStation.
Okay. Fair enough.
PlayStation was the first time like the WWF games came out and you could customize your own players and tables, ladders, and chairs match. It was a great time.
Was PlayStation the first that had PlayStation was the first to have a disc, I believe, too.
Yeah, at least, well, no,
Sega
you had
CD.
Sega CD.
There was like 17 Sega CDs ever sold. Like that was a thing.
Well,
Although I do miss the Dreamcast because you could burn games.
Oh yeah, Sega Dreamcast.
never had that.
You could burn games.
You could. I had a buddy that had it. Well, you could burn games on your for your PlayStation too, for your PS1.
I'm just saying, back in that day,
that was
when
huge.
You could just be like, "Yo, I want the new NBA Live," and then you go pick it up from your friend, and he was like, "All I need is money for the CDR."
Yep.
Cool, got you. $2. What up?
Right. Thanks to your mom for spending 45 or whatever it was at the time for a game. Oh, here's my 2. Hand it over.
I wish it was $45.
It was, you just traded off who was buying the next game.
Yeah. I liked N64 just because like we had a lot of like growing up, we had a lot of like I'd go over to my buddy's house, you know, he had 4 controllers you could plug into that bad boy, and
Bond, what maybe is the best
GoldenEye
multiplayer game
ever.
ever.
Yeah. Love some GoldenEye.
The Gold Gun.
Which is supposed to be getting a PC remake, but it's been in like it's like not an official remake.
It's a beta stage forever.
It like every game is ever now. I mean, Fortnite is still in a beta, so take that for what it's worth.
Whose question?
I mean, I'll fire out one of mine because it falls into line with what you guys are doing, and it was going to be PC or console gaming, but you guys kind of made it pretty.
Yeah.
Made it pretty clear.
There's some games that I have to play in the PC. Like when I played this,
The Sims,
the Zoo Planet, or the Sims, but this Zoo Planet game, like I can't imagine playing that on a console.
So I can say I've always been like a console gamer. I mean, I did play a lot of like Doom and Wolfenstein 3D on the PC that we had at our house when I was, growing up or whatever.
I prefer Civilization on the PC.
Yeah, but I've now built. This is the 3rd computer that I've built, and
not to brag.
I mean it's like putting Legos together, but.
Kind of
PC gaming until this PS5 PC gaming I had entirely moved away to it, especially when games like Call of Duty, Fortnite, things like that had like cross-platform play where I could still play with my buddies that were on consoles, but like going back to like a PlayStation 4 until like the PS4 Pro came out, and it had you could do some games at 60 frames or whatever, but the amount of frames that you can get on a PC and the graphical advancements there are just amazing.
So what are you guys binging right now?
I'm back on Sons of Anarchy.
I saw that.
Sons of Anarchy and Below Deck, the past seasons.
Nice. Yeah, we talked about Below Deck last time. Whatever.
Jeff, what are you binging?
Clone Wars.
All right. A little Star Wars action.
Yeah, a little bit. The animated one, because it all ties in a little bit with the Mandalorian and stuff. And I never watched the animated ones, so I'm gonna go back and like halfway through season 2.
And then you got the Obi-Wan and Boba Fett stuff coming at you soon.
I'm so excited.
Just finished Mandalorian myself. So.
Great show. I mean, incredible.
I'm binging currently Handmaid's Tale because I never got into it.
I heard that was good.
I can't get enough of it lately. So
it's right up there with what is that other? There's what's the chess one that everybody's talking about?
The Queen's
Gambit.
Gambit. That's it. Gambit should always just be an X-Men, not a title of a British Parliament. Sure.
At least it's not called the Queen's Wolverine.
Moving on.
Oh, I guess that means I'm up.
That's it. Yep.
Hold on, I just forgot what it was. I remembered it on top of my head, and then it was gone. Top 3 Eminem songs, because I've been in a real Eminem kick lately.
That's a good question.
Thank you. It's a solid question.
Now because we do this live, now we have to fill dead air while Jeff and I both look up Eminem songs.
Well, then I'll go ahead. I mean, I think my question's unfair, to be honest with you, now that I've actually read it out loud, because he's had so many hits and so many bangers that I don't think you can narrow it down to 3. Like, initially, I was thinking The Way I Am, because I was listening to that the other day, right?
That's a good one.
And then,
I don't think I put that in my top 3.
Okay, all right. But then you got
Forgot About Dre. I think I would put in my top 3.
Yep. Okay.
For sure.
Agreed.
For sure.
100%. Forgot About Dre. Lose Yourself. I don't know how you don't put that in the top 3.
For sure.
And then
Cinderella Man.
I wouldn't put Cinderella Man in my top 3. Actually.
No?
No.
There's a storm coming
Stan.
Stan. I think I would.
Stan.
It's either Stan or The Way I Am.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
Maybe, but that's fine. I mean, I only have to pay attention to you as I'm looking up the actual songs.
I'd play him, but then we get shut down on YouTube.
But yeah, no. Forever with Drake, I think is actually pretty good, and Lil Wayne and all them too. I think I put that up there in contention.
He has some good collabs.
Also, what was that movie? What was this? Rap God?
Rap God's solid too.
Rap God's pretty good. Outside of that, I don't know. What's the one where him and Dre were in the operating room?
What about Kill Shot? I know that's like newer.
Kill Shot was great.
I disagree 100%.
He's doing emo pop songs now.
I think MGK won. And I
God.
I love
No.
I love MGK's
Oh,
evolution.
no.
Love MGK's evolution.
Ugh.
Patiently waiting.
We've muted Aaron because he does not have good music selection. I'm fixing it. Don't worry. He's back. All right. You're back.
Patiently Waiting with him and 50 was also really good.
I've been patiently waiting for this. I can't remember the rest of the words. So I know. I got the tune in my head though, because I'm
Patiently waiting for this track to explode on.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
If you want and you ask, they get rolled on.
I'll never forget buying that 50-cent CD. Got up to the counter. They're like, that'll be $14.95. I said, what the hell?
Also, we need an ID because you are not 18.
I was in high school. Oh.
Rest my case.
Wow. Way to go, Ed.
What an idiot.
Who bought it for me then?
Your girlfriend.
No, she was only 3 months older than me.
How did you get it, Ed? Did you pocket it?
Maybe a Napster or Kazaa.
It probably was Napster.
Maybe
No, Napster was Napster even like I guess. I mean, you're a lot older than me.
LimeWire, BearShare, one of them.
LimeWire, BearShare.
It was probably Napster.
Huh. Good question.
All right. Are we done with that?
Yep.
Go to Chipotle order.
Bowl with white rice, not brown rice. I've been the brisket's really hit and miss right now, but I've been liking some brisket. Sometimes I go with a mixture of tomato salsa and corn salsa. A lot of times lately, I'm just going straight corn salsa. Extra cheese. I get the tortilla on the side, guac, and some fajita vegetables.
Chips and guac every time because I
sure.
use the chips as a fork. I use the chips as a fork. I never actually use a fork. Just chip it until.
That's because they don't give you enough guacamole in the cup to satisfy the number of chips. But go ahead.
Well, I take it back. The guac goes right on the bowl.
Okay.
I just get the chips.
All right.
But you know, it's because I just use the chips as a fork, and that's my guac is on the bowl. That said, brown rice every time because watching out for the figure. Also, I go with the is it the carnitas? What's the pulled pork?
Carnitas.
Is that the carnitas?
Carnitas, yes.
Yeah. That's the one. That's my go-to. Sour cream, the red salsa, the corn salsa, and the tomato salsa. Sour cream, cheese. No lettuce on any of that stuff because it just doesn't make sense.
And they don't put it on at the right spot either.
Correct. Black beans and
sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I'll do the black beans.
I go bowl, tortilla in the bowl, white rice, fajita vegetables, black beans, chicken, tomatoes, corn, sour cream, cheese, and lettuce, guac on the side, chips, and a lemonade. It's been the same order I've ordered since I was in high school. I have strayed a few times. I did try the brisket. I went on like a little brisket kick. I thought it was pretty good. I have not.
The chorizo, was it any good? The queso's
no.
trash. We can all agree
The queso can
even
be removed from the menu forever.
The new and improved queso was still trash.
It's still awful. We get rid of that. Like I said,
the best queso out of all the.
Where?
Who?
Qdoba. They
do.
Best queso.
Mm-hmm.
Fuego.
But I am interested in trying out the new cauliflower rice.
I'm interested as well.
I'm gonna give that a hit up probably sometime this week. I eat at Chipotle pretty frequently. But yeah, that's
chorizo was pretty good. Yeah.
I never gave it a run.
I love.
I stick to my chicken.
I love chorizo
Stick to the chicken.
In my breakfast as a breakfast meat. I do love some chorizo, but
sausage.
Never got that. Well, it's a Mexican sausage. It's a little bit different, man. You gotta. If you buy chorizo, generally speaking, unless it's already like ready to fry up, you have to skin it actually.
Because it's in a casing.
Yeah, like the same way like a hot like
a sausage
dog or sausage would be. You have to actually pull it out of the skin.
Okay.
All right.
And if Chipotle wants to sponsor the podcast,
not ever happening.
I eat there like I don't know 3 to 4 times a week. So.
All right. So the national championship last night only had 18.7 million viewers. The previous low was in 2004 at 21.4 million viewers when USC beat the brakes off of Oklahoma 55-19. Do you think that people are tired of Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State?
I think they're tired of it, but I don't know how you fix it.
Well, yes, you do. We've had this conversation.
I don't think expanding the playoff fixes it.
I watched the first.
I really don't. I mean,
one of two steps. I think it is. Here's the thing. You just had COVID happen, right? So you have a lot of teams being down a lot of money. Lower the amount of scholarships that people can offer. Oh no, what are we going to do? People want to come to Clemson. People want to go to Ohio State. Well, you only have, I don't know, instead of 100 scholarships you can offer your entire team, now you have 70.
The argument against that is now you're taking. I mean, taking away.
You can still walk on.
You're taking away the education. You know
plenty of these players are driving crazy cars. They should be
and schools can get around the whole scholarship thing pretty easily by
the duffel bag boys?
just like an NAIA school or a Division III school that isn't allowed to offer athletic scholarships. Suddenly, you're getting an academic scholarship to go somewhere, or they're finding money here or there to make a scholarship to give to a kid. I mean,
but I think it would challenge the top tier programs to not be able to bring in all of the 5 and 4 stars and allow the 5 and 4 stars, especially if you had more than 3 plus 1 every single year in the national championship itself.
I mean, what do you think about if? I mean, this is going to be kind of another thing that could be
8 programs that
it could be another thing that's like bent and moved around to help them out. But like if you say like you're only allowed X number of 5 stars, X number of 4 stars. You would have to have a legitimate ranking system that, comes in and says that, this kid is, he counts against your 5-star number. He counts against your 4-star number.
I don't think you even need to do that. I think it comes down to the fact that, I don't know. I mean, if you open it up to more than where it's just literally Alabama, Clemson every single year, Ohio State most years, and
I mean,
Notre
it's
Dame.
crazy. Like so we were talking about if you looked at like the linemen that
Alabama's linemen are.
I was pretty sure most of them were in their upper 20s, maybe early 30s, and I think they just went and grabbed some NFL players and stuck them on their line.
What was the kid that came over from Cuba that played in the Little League World Series back in the day?
Yeah,
and it turned out he was like 15 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
he was throwing the equivalent of like 200 miles an hour at these kids, like. Because he was pitching from like,
it was like 25 feet
yeah,
away.
it was like 43 feet, and he's throwing like the kid should be on a standard mound, like still throwing heat. Like,
I don't know. I think you have to get back into the lab and rethink this whole thing. I think it needs to be, if you're gonna expand it, I don't even think that 8 is a good number to expand it to.
I mean, there's not a magic bullet that's gonna fix it, and like,
correct me if I'm wrong, but does Division 2? I think they have a 16-team playoff. So
I think so. I think it is.
Why is Division 1 just
because
can't do it?
Because they make more money.
That's fine. Nobody wants to see the Cheez-It Bowl. Like nobody, you know what I mean? Like
the mayonnaise bowl.
Whatever bowl poor Tulsa got thrown into against a 3-7 Michigan State team. I'm sorry, not Michigan State, Mississippi State. Just get rid of some of these bowls and have those be your playoffs. Not to mention the fact that plenty of bowls were canceled entirely this year because of COVID anyway. There's plenty of bowl games to use those as your playoffs.
I
without
agree.
losing money.
I agree.
And you at least have, at that point, good teams. Or
honestly,
teams that people want to watch. Cincinnati and Georgia ended up with like 8.7 or something like that, if I remember correctly off the top of my head.
It was about that, I think is what it was.
So we were close. I mean, I wouldn't have put us at half of the national championship, would you?
No, and that was a great game.
So I think what it comes down to is people have fatigue for these same teams. The same way that people have LeBron James fatigue for the MVP. People have Patriots fatigue, and they're tired of seeing the Patriots in the playoffs every single year.
I think I saw a statistic today. It said like of the 21 or like it was like the 21 CFP games that have been played or whatever, that like
half of them have been by Alabama.
No, I think Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson have won 17 of them.
That's insane.
And it's typically like a blowout. I feel like there's always just like huge blowouts every year. And it's just like,
we can't put a G5 team in there if they're going to get blown out, right?
I mean,
that was
we all know what the narrative would have been. Like let's say that they like made this the year and they put UC in, and like however UC beat Clemson and they get into the championship game, or maybe they would have been 4. So say they get in at 4 and they play Alabama. I don't think UC's defense with a healthy Wiggins and a healthy Sauce, I don't think I would have been very. I mean, I still think UC loses to Alabama, but
and a Hudson without being an idiot.
Yeah, like I just think, I mean, and so what? If they went in there and got blown out, would it be any different? Other than the fact that they'd be like, well, look, UC doesn't belong. I mean, Ohio State got handled.
But if you ever try and bring that up to an Ohio State fan, they're going to tell you no.
They will start next year. They will start next year just as high,
because Blue Bloods. People are already putting Penn State in the top 10. Penn State, wild. I think, finished it with 2 wins.
It's wild. But
Penn State, we get out of here. We're 17.
We know what we're dealing with. It is what it is, and I don't see any true meaningful changes coming for the foreseeable future. They'll talk about it and act like they're trying to do something, but there won't be any meaningful changes.
All right, Edward, your turn.
My last question was, go-to hype song.
Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit.
Ooh, that's a good one, actually. This is a solid one.
Either that or I'm telling you what, man. People are sleeping on how hype Limp Bizkit would get. Rollin' by Limp Bizkit also is way high up there.
That might have to be my new one, Roland. That's a solid one. Jeff?
I typically just go into the Apple Music store and then
playlist.
And then click like the rock playlist, or typically stay with rock. I can't really get hyped to like music. Doesn't generate that kind of reaction for me. I have to typically calm myself down before I participate in anything that requires me to be hyped, because I'll get overhyped and then it's just not good. Like before
then
cross
I have to
country
go to work, and nobody likes an overhyped.
Yeah, no.
No one wants anybody in that line of work overhyped.
No, when I was in high school, like before cross country races or track races or like wrestling, like I would literally go vomit because I would be like way too hyped up, like with my own adrenaline dump
you were the quarterback puking on the field?
Oh, it was bad. I mean, I didn't play football, but
Willie Beeman?
I was over there vomiting on the side, like, and then I would go run my race and be good to go.
Willie Beeman.
Is what it is.
All right.
Ed?
Jeff, you finish it, close it. Oh, we gotta hear what Ed's hype songs are.
I don't have. I was literally asking you guys. I needed a hype song.
Oh, I didn't answer my own question.
Lose yourself.
Eminem, his top 3.
Yep. Eminem. What was that?
Last question.
Oh, it's another like nerd question. But what is your favorite Marvel movie from the first up till now? I guess we could say. You're out?
I'm out. I don't watch Marvel movies. I couldn't tell you. The worst. I know. I'm the worst. I don't watch Harry Potter. I haven't watched Star Wars since the first 3. Jeff walked out. I'm sorry.
If you thought my wife was mad at you before,
dude,
not watching Harry Potter movies, really?
I feel like it's such a cop out, so I don't want to go with Endgame, the last Endgame, because I think because every character was in it, I think it's really, really good. And I would venture to say that I lean that way, but solely based on soundtrack, I'm gonna have to go back to the first of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, great soundtrack!
So good.
I went and ate the place we ate at lunch today. Smoked Justice. So
that's okay.
I've heard about it.
They had the soundtrack to that playing when we went in there today. Great.
So plus, just having Vin Diesel as Groot and Bradley Cooper as the raccoon, and Gamora is Gamora.
Gamora is Gamora.
Woo.
I'm
Plus,
even though he's not my
Chris Pratt.
Even though he's not my favorite
Chris Pratt
of the Marvel characters, I do really enjoy Captain America.
The first
Winter Soldier.
Ooh. Was Howard the Duck in the first Guardians too?
I think he's like an Easter egg, I think, somewhere in there.
It's either the first one or the second one. He's certainly in one of the Guardians.
He's an Easter egg in there.
I think it's the first one though, when they go to visit the Benicio del Toro's character.
Yeah. But Marvel, Star Wars, all those movies, like we typically do like a movie night for the kids, and we watch several of them. Like, I mean, my kids are going to be nerds just like I am. I don't play it down. I'm a huge nerd. It is what it is. I love it. I own it. I mean, I have
maybe I'll watch one of them this week.
I have every one of the Star Wars Legends books, which are no longer, technically canon to the series, but they're great.
Google the order with which you should watch. It'll
Okay.
It's
pop
on
up
Disney
dividends.
Plus, Ed. I know you have Disney Plus.
I don't know if
I
the
do
first
have my-
Hulk is on there though. Like
The
with
first what?
The first Hulk.
Hulk?
With
It's
Edward
not.
Norton?
It's
No,
I think it has a Sony affiliation, which keeps it
Well,
off of there,
but-
along with
but you-
Spider-Man's. But
But you still had Iron Man in the first Hulk.
so
Just saying. All right. So last thing, bum of the week. Play it up, Eb.
Because you're training like a damn bum, you know that? Bum. A bum.
You're a bum. And that's all you'll ever be. A bum.
Well, that hurts, man.
I'll let you guys go first on this one since I went first on the last one.
go ahead, Ed.
I feel like I should put myself as bum of the week again.
2 weeks in a row.
And to be honest with you, I was looking for a bunch of stories last night, and I kept looking for stories, and then something happened this afternoon where I stopped looking for stories. So this is my public apology to Miss Eason. I apologize that you took my post the wrong way. I'm a real bum for that, and please accept my apology.
Well played.
Thank you.
My bum of the week is gonna have to be a thing, and it's the effort that the UC basketball team had on defense, literally so far this year. But just in what'd you say?
That completely cancels out my apology.
I don't think it does, because I think it's true. I mean, look at, you got a guy you got Mike Adams-Woods letting the tomahawk jam go, and I get it. There's a lot of stress and pressure and everything going on this year, and it's crazy and nuts. But
They scored 20 straight points without UC hitting a field goal.
I mean, it was just like anytime that UC scored a basket, it was like boom, basket. Maybe we'll start moving on the momentum, and then they would just like, there was a free runner all the way down the court for a lay-in.
If you quit fouling, none of it's a problem anyway.
Fair.
So, I mean, it's not like I'm saying that they're terrible, horrible people. And Brandon even said it was unacceptable afterwards, but that, you know, there really wasn't like any huge bum anywhere that I came across for me. So that's where I went. That's where I went.
So my bum of the week, wasn't sure if it was Juju Smith-Schuster.
That's a good one.
Corvette.
In the way that he said the Browns are still the same Browns prior to the game.
It was on my list.
Ben Roethlisberger, for the way that he played in the game. Or Chase Claypool trying to come at the fourth string cornerback who was covering him after the game and trying to break down film on TikTok or Twitter or wherever he was, trying to break down film on this four-string DB who would not have been in the game had it not been for COVID. Just picking on the kid. By the way, you only ended up with 5 receptions and 50 yards anyway. It's probably not a good look. Also, you lost. Why are you calling out the Browns, saying that you can't wait to see what they do next week and how they're going to be home watching? You lost.
I did forget that I found another bum that I was going to use. And so, because Ed named himself, I'm going to put this other bum out there. And it's similar to what Aaron just went through. But did you see what Sammy Watkins said?
I didn't even. Is he still playing for the Chiefs?
He plays for the Chiefs. He's had like 2 touchdowns, like 400 yards receiving this year.
Like every
this
year.
year, like this like total, this like.
I'm not even sure
but
he's ever passed 1,000 yards.
He said the Browns aren't real competition.
Here we go. Here we go again. Why you do it? Why you do it? Why you do it?
I mean, that's right up there with what did Juju say? The Browns is the Browns.
The
Like,
Browns is the Browns.
Just gray faces, which I don't think we're allowed to say that either.
I mean, that's so like I mean, you literally just saw it. One team's like actual relevant receiver make a comment about
What about
the
fact
Browns.
that what about the fact that Browns are doing this all without arguably their best player, Odell Beckham.
That's fair.
Well, and then I mean, did you like Baker? He's talking after the game, and he's like, "Yo, we did a great job. They team win, yada yada yada, all this stuff." And he's like, "And I got a guy on the offensive line that I literally just introduced myself to in the locker room. I was like, hey, what's up?" He's like, "It's some guy named Blake."
Did I read it right that they have somebody on their team also named AJ Green? By the way,
Do
I
they?
don't know.
I think I saw today in their transactions that they just picked
Oh,
up.
did they get him from the Bengals the same way? Like, we don't know if Jim Turner's gone or not.
That they just picked up a cornerback named AJ Green. And if that's the case, AJ Green has potential for the Browns to win a playoff game.
Before our AJ Green?
Or AJ Green.
Well, I did see, I believe it's the Lions are the separating team between the Bengals and Reds for longest drought without a playoff win. Yeah. So it goes Bengals, Lions, Reds.
All right. On that note, we're all sad. We all want to cry. We ruined the entire chemistry of the entire podcast.
Hey, we could have a very exciting podcast next week. Depending on how some dominoes fall, or we could have a very, very depressed podcast.
Yikes. We'll see what happens. But for that, I think we've taken up 2 hours of your life. No one's even listening at this point anyway. For Ed Mayhall, for Jeff Howe, myself, I'm Aaron Smith, and we out.
Peace.